Pull out a photo from 1965 and you'll see something shocking. Everyone at the beach, at the cricket, at your nan's place, they're all skinny, not gym skinny, just normal, and nobody was even trying. By 1960, less than 8% of Australians were obese. Today it's over 30%, and we went from one of the leanest nations on Earth to one of the fattest in a single generation. So, what were Aussies eating in the 1960s that kept the weight off without anyone lifting a finger? And why did it all disappear? You open the fridge and there's nothing in it. Not because your family's poor, because it's Wednesday. Shopping day isn't until Saturday, and in 1965, nobody drives to the shops 3 times a week. The milk bar is 7 blocks away. The butcher is 10. The greengrocer is somewhere in between. And you walk to all of them because that's just what you do. This is how every Australian family ate back then, and it kept them skinny without even trying. The secret wasn't some magic diet, it was built right into how life worked. Mrs. Henderson from Ashfield sends her daughter Jan down to the corner shop every morning before school. 2 blocks there, 2 blocks back, carrying a glass bottle of milk that cost 2pence. Jan's only 9 years old, but nobody thinks twice about it. Kids walked everywhere in those days. To school, to the shops, to their mate's house 3 streets over. The family had 1 car, a beige Holden, and Dad took it to work. Everyone else used their legs. Here's what that actually meant for your waistline. The average Australian in 1960 walked between 4 and 6 kilometers every day, just doing normal life. Not exercise, not a fitness plan, just getting bread, going to school, visiting the neighbors. They burned 500 to 700 calories without setting foot in a gym because gyms didn't exist yet for ordinary people. Shopping meant planning. You could only buy what you could carry home in 2 cloth bags. No massive trolley loads. No boot full of groceries. If you wanted something from the butcher, the baker, and the grocer, that was 3 separate trips on 3 separate days, each one a 20-minute round walk. The trouble was the point. It made you move. Davo from Coburg remembers his mum sending him to 3 different shops every Saturday morning in the early 60s. The butcher for mince and sausages, the greengrocer for spuds and carrots, the general store for tea and sugar. He'd do maybe 5 kilometers before lunchtime and think nothing of it. Just normal weekend stuff. His legs got strong. His hunger stayed normal because he only ate what his body actually needed to replace the energy. There were no snacks between meals because the shops closed at 5:30 and nothing opened on Sundays. If you got hungry at 8 o'clock at night, you were out of luck unless your mum had baked something on the weekend. You couldn't just grab chips from the pantry. The pantry didn't have chips. All that walking didn't just burn calories. It changed how food tasted. When you'd walked 2 kilometers to get fish and chips wrapped in newspaper, you enjoyed every bite on the walk home. The salt hit harder. The vinegar smelled sharper. You earned that food with your feet, and it meant something. Then the supermarket started opening on weekends. Dinner in 1963 looked the same in almost every Australian home. 1 chop, 3 vegetables, nothing else. This wasn't a diet plan. It was just what dinner was. Shazza's mum in Frankston cooked the same meal every weeknight with small changes. Monday was lamb chops with boiled potatoes, peas and pumpkin. Tuesday was sausages with mashed spuds, carrots and beans. Wednesday was a bit of corned beef with cabbage and more potatoes. The meat was never the star, it was just part of the plate. Vegetables filled most of the space because they were cheap and they grew in the backyard. Portion sizes were tiny by today's standards. A lamb chop in the 60s weighed maybe 100 and 20 grams. Today's restaurant serves you 3 times that. The dinner plate itself was smaller too, only about 22 centimeters across. Modern plates are 30 centimeters or bigger. When you put less food on a smaller plate, your brain thinks it's enough. It's not willpower, it's just how human eyes work. The average Australian dinner in 1960 had about 450 calories. Today, it's closer to 800. We didn't get greedier. The plates just got bigger and nobody noticed. But here's the part that really mattered. There were no seconds. The food your mum cooked was exactly enough for the family and not a scrap more. If you were still hungry after tea, you waited until breakfast. Cooking more food meant more work, more ingredients, more money. Waste was unthinkable. You ate what was put in front of you, and that was that. Dessert existed, but not every night. Maybe a tinned peach with carnation milk on Sundays. Maybe a piece of sponge cake your mum made. On Saturday, if she had time. Lolly snakes and Freddo frogs were for special times, not daily treats. Kids got pocket money measured in cents. A whole shilling might buy you a mixed bag from the lolly counter, picked one piece at a time while the shopkeeper waited. Those sweets lasted a week because you knew there weren't more coming. The strictness sounds harsh now, but it worked. A kid in 1965 ate maybe 1,200 calories a day. Today's kids eat over 2,000. The difference is snacking. Back then, you ate breakfast, lunch, and tea. That was it. The pantry didn't have rows of chips and biscuits calling your name at 4 in the afternoon. Cooking from scratch took time, and that time made natural limits. Making a roast dinner needed 2 hours of peeling, chopping, and watching the oven. Easy foods barely existed. No microwave meals, no frozen pizzas. If you wanted to eat, someone had to cook it, and cooking more meant working more. Then the golden arches appeared in Yaguna in 1971, and suddenly you could eat without waiting. Nobody called it exercise because it wasn't. It was just Tuesday. Backyard cricket went for hours. Not organized sport with uniforms and trophies. Just kids in the street with a tennis ball, a bin for wickets, and rules they made up as they went. One hand, one bounce. 6 and out if you hit it over the fence. You couldn't get out first ball because that wasn't fair. Games only stopped when someone's mum yelled that tea was ready. Australian kids in the 1960s spent an average of 4 to 5 hours outside every day after school. Not playing video games, not watching YouTube. Outside. Running, climbing, riding bikes with no helmets, building cubbies in the bush behind the houses. They burned energy without anyone tracking steps or heart rates. Davo from Preston remembers spending entire summer holidays in the early 60s roaming the neighborhood with his mates. They'd ride their bikes to the creek, climb trees, play chasings until they were drenched in sweat, then ride home when the streetlights came on. His mum never worried. Everyone's kids were out there doing the same thing. It was normal. It was childhood. Television existed, but only 3 channels and nothing during the day. Programming started at 4 in the afternoon and finished before midnight. If you were bored, you went outside because there was literally nothing else to do. Kids didn't sit still for 8 hours staring at screens. They couldn't. The technology didn't exist yet. Adults moved differently too. Most jobs involved physical work. Car factories in Elizabeth and Broadmeadows employed thousands of blokes who stood for 8-hour shifts, lifting, carrying, and building. Secretaries walked documents between offices because email didn't exist. Housewives hung washing on the hill's hoist, pushed heavy old vacuum cleaners, scrubbed floors on their hands and knees. Keeping a home meant actual work. Even fun involved movement. Going to the pictures meant walking to the cinema. Visiting your relatives meant walking to the bus stop, riding the bus, then walking from their stop to their house. Nobody thought of it as exercise. It was just how you got places. The milk bar run was a daily ritual for thousands of Australian kids. You'd walk down after school, maybe 8 blocks, buy a Sunny Boy or a bag of mixed lollies, then walk home. Nobody drove you. Nobody worried. The freedom was normal and the movement was constant. But here's what's strange. All this activity didn't make people obsessed with fitness. Nobody talked about burning calories or hitting 10,000 steps. They just lived and moved and stayed lean without thinking about it. The environment demanded movement. Walking wasn't a choice. It was the only option. Then the second family car arrived in the driveway, and suddenly walking became optional. Open a bread bag from 1965 and read the ingredients. Flour, water, yeast, salt, that's it. 4 ingredients your grandmother could pronounce. The bread went stale in 2 days because it was actual bread, not a science experiment designed to last a fortnight. This is the secret nobody talks about. The food in the 1960s wasn't trying to make you overeat. It hadn't been engineered by food scientists to hit the perfect combination of salt, sugar, and fat that overrides your brain's fullness signals. A lamington was sponge cake, jam, chocolate, and coconut. Simple. You ate one and felt satisfied because the food didn't trick your body into wanting more. Home cooking in the 1960s used whole ingredients. A vanilla slice was custard made from eggs and milk, not a box of instant powder with 30 unpronounceable chemicals. Meat pies from the local shop had pastry made with meadow-lee and flour, filled with actual beef mince. You could see what you were eating. It looked like food. Processed foods existed but were limited. Etta peanut butter, Rosella tomato sauce, Golden Circle canned pineapple. Bushels. Tea. These were simple products made from recognizable ingredients. Nobody had invented hyper-palatable combinations designed to create what the industry now calls cravability. The food didn't fight your natural appetite. It just fed you and let you stop when you were full. Soft drinks were tiny. A bottle of Tarax or Passioner was maybe 170 milliliters. Today's standard bottle is 600. Sugar consumption was a quarter of what it is now, not because people had better discipline, but because massive serves of sweetness weren't available yet. You had a small lemonade with your Devon sandwich at the school canteen, and that was your sugar for the day. Cordial got watered down so much it barely tasted like anything. Mums made it weak because cotties cost money and you didn't waste it. Kids complained but drank it anyway because it was that, or tank water from the tap outside. The strangest part? Food tasted better back then, according to everyone who remembers. Tomatoes had flavour because they came from someone's backyard, not a warehouse in Queensland. Bread tasted like wheat. Meat tasted like the animal it came from. Nothing was engineered to be hyper-delicious. It was just food. But then something changed in the late 60s and early 70s. Supermarkets started expanding. American food companies arrived. Ingredients lists got longer, serving sizes crept up. The food slowly started changing in ways nobody quite noticed at the time. Shazza's mum started buying sliced white bread that stayed soft for a week. Davo's family got their first freezer and started storing TV dinners. The convenience felt modern, progressive, better. Nobody realized they were trading portion control and whole ingredients for something designed to make them eat more. The food had started fighting back.